What's going on, YouTube? It's your girl Sha, and welcome back to the Shaa'Vaee Show. So, today I am reviewing Tyler Perry's The Oval. It is season 1, episode 1, so it's a pilot episode. It just came out not too long ago, maybe a couple of days ago. And based on the first episode, Tyler, you have my attention, okay? So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. I'm going to tell you all about the pilot episode of The Oval. So it seems like we have a new president and first lady gracing black television, okay? But the gag is that the president, Mr. Hunter, is white, and Miss Veronica, the first lady, is black. So let's see how this plays out, okay? So President Hunter, First Lady Veronica Franklin, and their children, Gail and Jason, move into the White House, and they are nothing like the Obamas. So according to the staff, the Obama administration, the Obama family, they were just very nice, very classy, and drama-free. But it looks like the Franklins are coming into the White House to stir some things up, okay? It seems as if the daughter Gail is a troubled child, and Veronica has a list of do-nots or don'ts for Gail that she submitted to the White House staff, okay? Veronica also has a lot of things that she needs as well, so the staff is taken aback by a little bit, and they're just like, okay, this is not going to be an easy one like we had with the Obamas. So the episode starts off with a fight scene. Okay, this was crazy. So Veronica appears to be lathering her body with lotion, and Hunter comes over to her. He's trying to talk to her, and she doesn't want to talk to him. Why doesn't she want to talk to him? I have no idea. Viewers have no idea because we don't know really the backstory on their relationship, okay? All we know is that it's toxic, and there's a lot of abuse going on in there. So Hunter ends up, picking Veronica up off the bed so that she's facing him, and he's trying to still convince her to speak to him. So she doesn't want to speak to him, and she's like, why are you grabbing me? And she ends up spitting in his face. So as we already know, when someone spits in your face, that is a fight. That is fighting words or fighting actions. So the two begin to rumble like it is WWE, WWF back in the day, okay? So in the middle of their fight, Veronica says to Hunter, I thought I told you not to put your hands on me again. And then they just start fighting again. So I'm like, what is going on here? So then Secret Service knocks on the door and opens it and just lets them know, listen, y'all have a certain window period to finish getting dressed before you are needed downstairs for the inauguration. So they shout out things like, okay, thank you for letting us know we're gonna need a medic and we're gonna need hair and makeup. And that's because they both look a hot mess, okay? So that's how we are introduced to the new first family. Now, not to mention, they also have some fidelity issues, it seems like. So at the inauguration, it appears that Hunter invited his side chick. Well, this is what Veronica refers to her as. And Hunter doesn't deny that that's his side chick, and looks like he's rather gloating in Veronica's face about the fact that his side chick is there. So we're gonna see how this season plays out, how next episode plays out, because I need more info on the Franklins, because I don't know if they're like together or if they're not together, like if they're just getting married and they're in the White House because they just got married for the sake of the campaign, for the sake of the presidency. I don't know. So we're gonna find out more details pertaining to that, okay? And then even when it comes to their interaction when they had their first dance at the inauguration, they just seem very off, just tick for tat, bickering with each other. It just seems very off. So I can't wait to see what happens next episode. In addition to ensuring that the Franklins get settled into their new home, Chief of Staff Don Winthrop is hoping that his wife's plane lands in time for her to make it to the inauguration. So Lily is Don's wife, and she thought that there was a great idea to fly out of town to console a family member or a friend in their time of need. Now, Don has already told her that this wasn't a good idea because he was afraid that she would not be back in time for the inauguration. You just never know what happens with these flights. They get delayed, weather happens, you just never know. And Don was indeed correct. So it looks like Lily's flight has been delayed and they have a layover in Charlotte because the weather in DC is bad, and they will not fly out to DC until the weather gets a little bit better. So Lily will not make it to the inauguration. And Don is pretty upset because, one, that's his wife, so he wants his wife by his side when, you know, during the inauguration. And then two, it's just like, he told her not to go in the first place. So then it's three. It appears that the First Lady Veronica is wearing a dress that I believe Lily made for her. And then she's not there to see that either. So Don's just pretty bummed about that. And, you know, he feels like he's been stood up. However, what Don does not know is that while he is getting things ready at the White House and getting ready for the inauguration, Lily is living her best life in this terminal stuck in North Carolina. So while she's on the plane, she met a guy named Bobby who sat next to her, and Bobby just seemed very interested in Lily since he sat down, okay? So there's a little bit of turbulence on the plane, and he seems to be afraid to fly, so he grabs Lily's hand. That was the first sign that, I don't know what's going to happen between Bobby and Lily on this flight, okay? So then they get off of the flight, and they sit at the same table, or they sit next to each other at a table while they're waiting at the terminal for another flight to DC. So Bobby starts asking Lily about her personal life and about her husband, and saying that Don looks a little bit too old for Lily. So Lily, you know, admits that Don is a few years older than her. And then Bobby says, you know what, and I also don't like him either. So Lily's taken aback because she's like, how do you not like my husband and you don't know him? So I guess Bobby was ear hustling while Lily was on the phone with Don, and Don was expressing his frustrations with her because she's not at the inauguration, and Bobby just says, you know what, I don't like him based on how he was speaking to you. So long story short, one thing leads to another, and Bobby ends up feeling on Lily's thigh, okay? So they both had a couple of drinks in their system, and now things are picking up and moving to a level that it should not have went to, okay? So Bobby says to Lily, if you want to have an amazing time, not a good time, ladies and gentlemen, an amazing time, why don't you meet me in the bathroom? I'm going to keep the door unlocked, and then, you know, I'll show you a good time. So I'm thinking, okay, Lily's probably not going to do it, but I guess she had a couple of drinks. She's probably a little bit pissed at Don. I'm not sure how the relationship is, so we will probably see that throughout the season, but she agrees to meet Bobby in this bathroom. So here goes married Lily in a bathroom with a man she just met a couple of hours ago, and they start bumping and grinding, y'all, getting it on and popping. But the gag is, so based on the clips for next episode, like the trailer for next episode, it seems like Bobby is not one of those one hit it and quit it kind of guys, like not like a one night stand type of person. So he looks like he pops up in DC or pops up at Lily's home or headquarters or somewhere, and Lily is not happy to see him. And I can't wait to see what happens, because Don is probably going to find out, and it's going to be some news for him as well, okay? Don thought he could trust his wife, and he cannot. So as mentioned, Don is doing his rounds just to ensure that the first family has a swift move into the White House. So again, the Obamas are moving out and the Franklin's are moving in, and this is all in a short period window. So Don also seems aware of the Franklin's issues and their dysfunctionality. So he asked the head butler, his name is Richard, to move Hunter and Veronica's things by himself. No move is allowed because their items contain highly sensitive data, items, etc. Okay? So now Richard, this will be Richard's third administration as head butler. So he's seen and knows a lot about, you know, what goes on in the White House, and he's had the opportunity to meet the different families that have been in there for the past 3 terms, okay? So Richard at home has a wife, her name is Nancy, and he also has a son named Barry, who is a single father to his daughter Kaylee. So Richard has a bad back, and he's unable to move these boxes on his own, so he calls his son Barry to help him at the White House, okay? So as I mentioned before, Barry is a single father, but he does have a girlfriend. So as Barry is walking out of his house to meet his father at the White House, his mother of his child, Ruth, is at the front door. So it seems like she does this quite often. And at this point, Barry has sole custody of Kaylee because Ruth left Kaylee in a crack house. And Barry just does not trust her anymore. And right now, Barry claims that Ruth is in a cult. And based on Ruth's attire, her language, and just how she acts, it seems that this is true, okay? So Ruth is outside and she's asking Barry if she could see their child. And Barry, as he has told her before, the answer is no. I don't trust you. I don't trust this cult that you're a part of. I don't know what your motives are. You cannot see my child, okay? And so he walks away as Nancy steps outside. So Nancy is Callie's grandmother, and she steps outside and says, you know what, Barry, you go ahead, I'll take care of this from here. So she tells Ruth, you know what, Ruth, I'm going to talk to Barry to see if there is a time that you can come by and see Kaylee. Please don't come by anymore. I will call you and we'll set something up, okay? So Ruth goes about her business, and she's very into this religion or this cult that she's a part of, and she's always referring to this person that is called the highest, okay? Now, I don't know if the highest is a physical being or if this is in fact spiritual, but I do know that according to Barry, this highest person marries children or does things to children, so he definitely does not want Kaylee with Ruth, her mother. Okay, so Nancy goes behind Barry's back because she thinks she's doing the best thing as a grandmother, because Kaylee admits and expresses that she would like to see her mom as well. She can hear her mom yelling outside, so she knows her mom is there. So Nancy calls Barry while he's working with his dad, and although Barry has told Nancy the answer is no, Nancy says, okay, you know what, let me just try one more time. So Nancy asks Barry if it's okay for Ruth to see Kaylee, and of course he says no. He's like, Mom, what part did you not understand? I mean, considering all the factors that have happened, we should not allow Ruth to be around Kaylee. So Nancy takes matters into her own hands and she calls Ruth up. And Ruth says to Nancy, please just let me see my daughter. My therapist or my counselor says this might help me with my addiction or with my rehabilitation or my detoxing, whatever it is, my sobriety, if I go to see my daughter. So Nancy falls for it and says, okay, you can come by, Ruth, now to see Kaylee, but only for an hour, and you need to leave before Barry gets back. So Ruth comes over and she ends up seeing Callie, and they have a conversation, they're talking or whatever the case is, and then out of nowhere she starts talking about this highest power. So as soon as she starts bringing that crap up, Nancy's like, all right, Ruth, you gotta go. I told you could stay here for an hour. You've been here for 2 hours. So it's time for you to pack up your things and head out. So Ruth is like, no, I'm not leaving without my daughter. She's coming with me. So then Nancy is like, oh, we're gonna play this game? She's like, Ruth, I will beat you behind up and down this house if you don't let my granddaughter go. So Kaylee is in there. I guess Ruth is holding Kaylee so tight, and Kaylee's looking at her grandmother, looking at Ruth like, Grandma, you might want to help me out here. Seems like I'm stuck. So Ruth refuses to let Kaylee go, and out of nowhere, Ruth just says a chant or some type of line or a call that summons her cult friends, and they walk into the house as if they're coming to help her get Kaylee. So it seems like Ruth had this up her sleeve the entire night, okay? And based off of the trailer for next episode, it looks like things get heated and they really try to take Kaylee. So this is not it for Barry though, because Barry has some other things that he has to deal with in this episode, okay? So Barry at this point is not aware that Ruth is at his house and that the cult people are there to take his daughter Kaylee. Gail, which is Hunter and Veronica's daughter, she refuses to get dressed for the inauguration, and she's pissed because they won't let her invite her boyfriend, who Veronica says is a drug dealer, okay? So Gail is pretty upset and she's very sassy. She says disrespectful things about her father, and she seems to not respect Veronica Franklin, okay? Now, Veronica Franklin gives me Veronica Harrington vibes. If you watch The Haves and the Have-Nots, you understand what I mean. Like that crazy vibe. Like that you look really nice and did up on the outside, but in the inside, if somebody puts you or ticks you off, you will turn into Spawn, okay? You will turn into Satan himself, all right? So now as Gail is giving Veronica all this lip about why she's not going and, just being disrespectful, Veronica's like, listen, I don't have time for this, okay? I will ship you to the furthest place from here, okay? I'm not the one you want to mess with. I will bash your head into these walls. Just saying all types of threatening things to Gail, and Gail does not budge until Veronica gets in Gail's face and tells her straight up, listen, you know me. You know me. I am a person of my word. Don't tick me off, okay? Don't tick me off. So then Veronica ends up leaving. And now before she leaves, she mentions something to Gail and says, you don't know how hard I had to work to make them believe that I am a good first lady for Hunter, or that I am supposed to be in this position. She says something along those lines. So now I'm just starting to think, okay, what kind of family dynamic do you really have, okay? So Veronica ends up leaving, and Jason, Gail's brother, Veronica's son, he's there to kind of like mediate the situation a little bit, but Veronica kicks him out. So he comes back into the room to talk to his sister Gail, and he's like, you know what, Gail? Let's just do it. I'll help you get dressed if you want. And she's just like, ew, you are a creep. So that goes to show us the kind of sibling relationship Gail and Jason have. Seems like it's non-existent, okay? So now the family is all dressed and ready for the inauguration, but there is no sign of Gail. She, in fact, is not going to the inauguration, and they took her to the White House, okay? So Veronica's like, just make sure you keep all eyes on her until I get there. Whoo, I can't wait to see what Veronica does. Veronica seems like she does not play that, and she seems like she don't care about nothing, okay? So Gail is escorted to the White House, and when she walks into the White House, she is drunk. She gets there and she's greeted by Richard, Barry, and her maid Gina. And she's also greeted by another woman. I didn't get her name or her position at the White House, but she works there as well. So she is a hot mess, of course, throwing her coat and her bag on the floor. You know how some of these rich kids are. They have no respect for people. So she's one of those kids. She just does not have respect for her elders or any of the White House staff. And she's just like, well, who's going to take me to my room? And she chooses Barry. So mind you, Barry does not work at the White House. He is simply there to help out his father, okay? So Richard says, you know what, Barry, just go with her. And Gina, you follow them and go with them, okay? So Gina and Barry end up showing Gail where her room is, and Gail is not impressed with the room, okay? Then she asks Gina to leave the room. So now it's just Gail and Barry together, alone, with the door closed, in Gail's room. So Barry's trying to figure out why Gail wants him there, okay? But Barry, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure this out, but it looks like she wants you. And that seems to be the case. So she's trying to go down on Barry and do stuff to him, and he does not want it. It's not wanted. So he's pushing her away from him. And I guess because she's drunk, she might have lost her balance, but he pushes her and she ends up falling on the floor and hitting her head, okay? So now Gina hears the commotion and she comes in and she's like, Barry, what just happened? Okay, so Barry's like, I don't know, she tried to come on to me. And she's like, well, why is her skirt hiked up? Why does she look like this? And he's like, I don't know, all I know is that she tried to come on to me. Okay, so Gina calls for backup. Long story short, Gail ends up waking up and she looks at Barry and she's like, what just happened? And then she accuses Barry of raping her. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, that was not the case. Barry did not touch this woman, but Gail accuses Barry of rape. So as we know, this is something that, this is a topic that is not something that you take lightly. And I'm just trying to figure out how is this going to unfold, because Richard is the head butler, Barry's his son. Gina wasn't supposed to be at the White House in the first place. She's supposed to be at the inauguration. Like, it's just so much that's going to go into this. And I don't know Veronica. I don't know who will believe her, who will not believe her. So it's just going to be interesting to see how this plays out, okay? And then it was funny because when she had asked Barry to stay behind, she also told Barry, when he was pushing her off and telling her like he didn't want whatever she's going to do, he didn't want it. He didn't want her services. She said to him, if you want your father to keep his job, you basically need to cooperate. So I'm just, you know, I don't know what to expect. All I can say is, Tyler Perry, this was a very great pilot show. A lot of pilots do not start off this strong, but Tyler, you have my attention. So if you like this video and you are interested in seeing my reviews on what happens throughout the season, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will be back again with another review on episode 2 of The Oval. So thank you again for rocking with your girl, and I will see you all next time. Bye.